All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Zach, go ahead with the roll call, please.
Jeff is not here. James is not here. Storm?
Here.
Tammy?
Here.
Patty is not here. Stephen? Dakota?
Here.
Mike is not here. Todd?
Here.
Greg is not here. Scott?
Yep.
Eric is not here. Pat?
Yep.
Ashley?
Here.
John is, Jack, are you here? Vicky?
Here.
Adrian?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
Paul?
Here.
And Dr. Bump.
Here.
Good perform.
We do.
Cool. All right, so first thing is reviewing the meeting minutes from October 2024. Back in February, we did not have a quorum for that meeting, so I know we're going back a little ways. Has anyone had a chance to read those, review them? I know it's been a while.
Motion to accept.
Motion by Paul to accept, second. Okay, got a second, Vicky. All in favor? Motion carries. All right, CMAC and REMSCO, Dr. Bombard.
I did not go to this most recent CMAX. I was on vacation. The biggest, however, I have CMAX 5, right? And John will also back me up, which is nice because he actually showed up to the CMAC in Central. The one piece of information that was passed on to me that's pertinent to you guys is the IGEL project. It was the pilot project for the last couple of years. Was at the, not this CMAC, but the prior one, was expanded so that all BLS agencies are allowed within the, so it's no longer a pilot, but it was expanded to all BLS agencies within the state if equipped and trained. So you have to, your medical director has to be involved. You obviously have to have the IGEL to use. That was extended to pediatrics and adults. So the pediatrics were included at this last CMAC meeting. That was something that I think just hadn't been discussed in detail at the previous, whether they were including pediatrics or not. They are including pediatrics. If you're going to use a device other than the IGEL, that needs to be approved by the REMAC. Other than that, you can go out and launch as long as your medical director approves it and ensures that you have appropriate training, etc. That was the only big CMAC thing. Don, do you have a REMSCO?
John, you're muted.
Good, you didn't hear me
Oh.
swearing because I was muted.
Very good.
So there's a lot of things in the works. So quality metrics wise, there's going to be a new schematron released. That's going to be a 7/1 of 25. There'll be 13 rule changes, cardiac arrest and some IFT updates. There was a national patch that is being released within the next 60 days. Because of some changes at the federal level to NEMSIS, including e-patient 13, which is patient gender, and e-patient 25, adding male, female, and unknown. They're starting to dive a little bit more into data integrity, so export failures, import failures, mapping failures. They're going to do some education at vital signs on data integrity and documentation, and they're looking at some other state programs. Safety, they're going to be working on some de-escalation tactics trainings, revising state policy statement 0013, which Vinny, who will tell you what that is because I don't remember off the top of my head, hazmat response, and a restraint policy that Dr. Isaacs from the New York City region is working on, and some stretcher operations stuff. Systems, they had a presentation from the 5 Quads EMS, which is SUNY Albany's collegiate EMS group, that received a gold letter EMS Ready Campus from the National Collegiate EMS Foundation. it was really neat, and they're the first one in New York State to get that kind of recognition. Finance wise, they're still lagging behind in program agency and REMSCO contracts. Now it is because of the budget. Everything's tied to the budget. So we're basically in a wait and see on that. Mark, do you want to talk about anything with innovations? Because that's your committee. So
Yeah, I think we had a fairly long conversation on the use of AI, or how AI is impacting EMS, or how it will impact EMS. There's a subgroup that's working specifically on that, and I think everybody's under the same impression that the horse is out of the barn at this point. It's just how to corral it to get it to be useful. So I think some of the next steps are, surveying providers and agencies to find out, exactly what they're going to, or what is being done already, and then trying to figure out what can be done, should be done, who should control it before it starts controlling us. The only other thing, Jonathan, I don't know if you were going to bring it up or not, I think is important, is as part of the funding that's going to go to the regions, I'm assuming the individual regional councils, we should be looking at a $15,000 incentive that'll be going specifically for regional recruitment and retention. So at some point, we should be putting that on the council's agenda to start deciding how and why we're going to utilize that.
So,
long as-
I was gonna say something about that. It actually ended up not being a REMSCO deliverable. It is a program agency deliverable. But we
Okay.
plan on working with the regions to facilitate, because you're the ones who know the best what's going on.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. Alex or Vinny with the DOH report?
Good afternoon, evening, everyone. Just a quick report out. First, happy EMS week. Thank you to all the providers, agencies, medical directors, anybody involved in the EMS system for everything that you guys are doing out there in the field, and, providing good patient care to the patients of New York. So just a couple quick things. First, full service inspections. They're continuing. Some of the things we're still regularly seeing are outdated policies, oxygen cylinders that are out of hydrostatic test dates, expired supplies. So please just keep an eye on them, especially if your representative is reaching out to schedule a inspection for your agency. Just something to be mindful of. With that, you guys are going to start seeing a new portal that the regional representatives are sending out for policies and procedures. It really cuts down on some of the time we're spending at an inspection if we request some of this early, and allows us to review them and then kind of give updates or suggestions, so on and so forth. Kind of the last thing on that one is, summer months are coming out, so just be mindful for regulating medication temperatures as the summer months hit. As far as controlled substances, just one of the things we wanted to throw out is if your agency is doing any sort of change to controlled substances, whether it's the policy, updating medical director, anything like that, even to changing your location, though a lot of that stuff does need approval prior to implementation. So make sure you're reaching out to the regional reps just to kind of get a gauge on what's needed, so on and so forth. There's a new MOLS policy update. Well, there was one. It was released a few weeks ago. It was on our website. There is going to be a new Dear Administrator letter being sent out on July 2nd. There's some updates to the form in the respiratory section, but with that, we will be updating policy 2312, which is our most current MOLS policy, as well as realigning the training on that. So if your providers haven't taken it, it's really good training, and it will reflect a lot of these changes. This Thursday, Gene Myers is doing a CME coordinator hour-long Vital Signs Academy, if anybody's interested on that. And then the last thing that I have is tomorrow is the EMS Memorial that's at the Empire State Plaza at 11, if anybody's interested in going. It's a great time, great way to pay respect to those who passed, and hopefully we'll see some of you tomorrow. And that's all I have unless there's questions.
Any questions for Vinny? All right, thanks, Vinny. Program agency report, Zach or Jonathan?
I keep muting myself, sorry. Zach, if you want to pull it up, I can, we can rifle through it. Okay, so the following agency operating authority for their ALS were approved at the December meeting. So we need to have the REMSCO vote on them tonight. Queensberry EMS, Grainville Rescue Squad, Ticonderoga Emergency Squad, Saranac Fire Department, Morrisonville Volunteer Ambulance, Lake Placid Volunteer Ambulance, and Rouse's Point Fire Department.
Perfect. Anyone make a motion to accept all of those as listed?
Make one.
Scott with the motion.
I will.
Need a second?
Me, Tammy.
Tammy with a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Perfect. And then at tonight's REMAC meeting, the following were approved for a 2-year renewal: Cambridge Valley Rescue Squad, Fort Anne Rescue Squad, North Warren Emergency, Ellenberg Depot Fire, Dannemore Fire Department for a 2-year.
Anyone with a motion?
I'll
to
motion.
accept? Scott,
I'll second.
Adrian with a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
St. Regis Falls was a 3-month extension till the next meeting. I don't know if you need a motion on that or not.
Do we?
Yeah,
Anyone? Scott? Adrian, want to go again?
yeah, sure, go for it.
Adrian with a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Carried.
Perfect. And then new application. So we have a new application for Washington County Department of Public Services, Bureau of EMS. They are starting a ALS first responder and contracting transport service, if I'm correct, Mark.
Yes.
They were approved by the REMAC, and they need a approval from the REMSCO to go in their packet so we can set it into the state. They are a MuniCon, so there is no CON process for the first 2 years of operation.
Anyone with a motion to accept Washington County?
I will.
Scott with the motion. Second. Pat. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
And then finally, we have Hague Volunteer Fire Department. They're requesting to upgrade from BLS to AEMT. I believe we have somebody on the call from Hague if anybody has any questions, but it was approved by the REMAC.
Any questions, comments, concerns for Hague? Okay. Need a motion. Scott with the motion, need a second. Mark with the second. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carried.
Perfect. New DOH policy. So policy statement 2501, collaborative protocol change log effective 7/1/25. Policy statement 2502, which is a BLS protocol change log effective 7/1/25. And then statement 2503, revisions to the MOLS form, which there will be another statement coming out with another revision to the MOLS form. So we'll make sure that gets sent out to everybody once it's ready. Health Commerce System, agencies that have any changes or anything to their leadership, contact our office and we can update your Health Commerce System contacts and remove the other person from the system. Because we don't want to have people who are no longer affiliated with your agencies having free reign to get into the Health Commerce System and do things. PAD. So one usage report 2/24/25 in Warren County. No new applications or updates in the quarterly reports were received from the following. BLS adjuncts and IGEL study applications. No BLS adjunct applications were received and no IGEL study applications. Again, they have to continue with the IGEL study applications until the protocol update on 7/1/25. At that time, then it just becomes a BLS adjunct that they can apply for through the REMAC. Upcoming DOH courses. So Clinton Community College has an EMT original and refresher starting 6/25. Queensbury EMS original and refresher 2/25. Elizabethtown Community Hospital, their paramedic original started 1/25, and NCC original and refresher in Lewis started at 3/25, and original and refresher in Malone started 5/25. And do any of those course sponsors have anything they want to say about those classes?
All good, Jonathan.
Provider credentialing. So new providers, that's a bad word. So I'm going to tell Vinny and Alex to plug their ears. You didn't hear me say credentialing. Intern EMTs, AEMTs, none. AEMTs, we have 9 new ones. We credentialed. Critical cares 1 and 10 paramedics. We had providers changing their primary agency of 2, no re-credentials, and no providers de-credentialed. There was a small snafu with the state testing system. It seems to have only affected one provider who went online in the region. There was updates made to the AEMT test, and when it got uploaded into the system, PSI screwed up and only recognized the BLS portion of the test. So these students would go through and test, and they pass the BLS part, and then they take the AEMT part that's incorporated in, and they would fail the AEMT, but because they passed the BLS, they were getting an AEMT card. So that's been fixed. Melissa from the state made phone calls on Friday. Zach and I were able to get a hold of Dr. Mulvey, was the only one really affected with the person who went online. So it's all been taken care of now. They have to retest and take their AEMT. PEC, all agencies should have a PEC, and emergency departments can too. If your agency doesn't have a PEC or you don't know who your PEC is, your pediatric emergency care coordinator, you can contact Amanda at our office. So Matters program in naloxone. So in our informal meeting that we had last, I know I had talked about expanding and to contact our office. We are in the process of renewing our license, which means we can add distribution sites now. So those of you who have reached out to me, I'm going to confirm your site location so I can add them into the system. It does look like we're going to be able to do naloxone carpy jets too. That we'll be able to offer through the system. So that might give us a little bit more to give to your agencies. Education and training, so learning management system, make sure your folks are added to it. We just recently added an ALS pharmacology, cardiac and psychiatric medications. Coming soon will be another ALS farm for seizure and epilepsy. We partnered with the Northeastern Epilepsy Foundation. May we'll be doing some heat emergencies and BLS capnography. Spring fling for next year. Well, these are the wrong dates. It will be the 16th, 17th, and 18th of April next year in Alex Bay. We just hosted Fort Drum EMS Day. We had a really nice representation of people from the Mountain Lakes region coming over to Fort Drum. It is a fantastic training. They open up their simulation lab where they have $240,000 mannequins that respond to your treatment. They talk to you, they blink their eyes, they breathe. It's really a fantastic day. And we do plan on holding another one in the fall, and I'll make sure that that gets out to everybody. EMS Education Day, we're working on planning that. We're again partnering with North Country Community College and Scott to hold it there 11/1/25. CQI initiative, we've talked about the basis of the CQI initiative, and I'm going to let Amanda talk about this really quick.
Hold on, I can't read any of that. Thank you. In January, we reviewed 21 agencies, 10 were North Country, 11 were Mountain Lakes. There were 100 charts, it was 50 and 50. There was only one agency with no charts uploaded, and I believe Zach has addressed that. And then 11 charts were sent to medical directors for further review, which is by far the most we have ever sent in 1 month, and it was more than we sent in 2024 in its entirety. So in February, there were 22 agencies, 10 North Country, 12 Mountain Lake, 97 charts reviewed, 1 agency with no charts uploaded. March, there were 23 agencies, 7 North Country, 16 Mountain Lake, 103 charts reviewed, and 2 agencies with no charts uploaded. And I believe Zach has also fixed those, or at least talked to the agencies.
So what we found is the problem with the ones that aren't uploading is they are Vermont based. So the chart is having to go from their software platform past the Vermont schematron and then make it from Vermont back to New York State. And there's a breakdown between coming back from Vermont to New York. So the states are working on that. That's all Peter Brody's job, not ours.
Fair. We're still lacking complete assessments or focused assessments, that being like if you have a difficulty breathing patient, they have a lung assessment. Abdominal pain should have an abdominal assessment. It's lacking across the board in both the regions. However, I do believe it is getting better. And then just some minor areas we were lacking. So for 2024, we reviewed 819 charts, 362 were North Country, 457 were Mountain Lakes, and that's because you guys have more agencies than we do over here. There were 45 agencies selected with no chart uploads, and then we sent 8 charts to medical directors for further review.
So the big thing that we're finding is PCRs are a legal document. And if some of these PCRs ended up getting called onto a stand, the attorney would shred the people who wrote it. So you need to remind your providers to be super mindful of spelling and grammar. Opinions and personal statements don't belong in a PCR. Stating in a PCR that you feel that the society is failing a human being, that's your personal feelings. It doesn't belong in a patient care report. It has nothing to do with the patient care, so it shouldn't be in there. And then BLS providers should not be documenting outside of their scope. For example, we have a lot of providers, and it's not so much an issue on the Mountain Lake side as it is in the North Country side, that are documenting ALS interventions. And not only are they not trained to do it, they're not documenting them appropriately. So the ALS intercept chart and the BLS chart are contradicting themselves. And if that ever were to be called into court, which one of them I think is about to be, it's going to make one of the providers, if not both of them, look absolutely incompetent. And we don't need that. Does anybody have any questions for the program agency?
On here. Anybody online have any questions for Jonathan about that?
Jonathan, this is Josh LeDuc from UCH. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I was in the state meeting and I heard that program agencies are getting funding for paramedic programs. And I'm assuming you're the person I probably will need to discuss that with, or do you have any more information on that? Other than
Yes,
just
I can provide a little bit more on that. So it was originally something that was spun to be part of the REMSCO contracts. The money was just going to be, the program agencies were going to be the vehicle for delivering those funds. When we got our work plan for our new contract that will go in effect sometime, it now has it as a program agency deliverable. So we're working on a plan. I've talked to Patty a little bit about it, and I've talked to Debbie from the North Country about it, where we're going to create an advisory panel that will work with us. We'll have generic application that will work for both regions. And we will go from there, basically. But it's very much in its infancy because we just got our work plan 2 weeks ago. So I'm still trying to dive into it and figure out what has changed, what is new, and what we have to do.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that information.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right, REMAC report, Dr. Bombard or Jonathan?
You're at Dr. Bombard.
Oh, lucky me. What big things we did ALS agency approvals. We had QA/QI reports. We did the education training center reports. The only really big news out of any of this that you guys haven't already heard is that Tom Williams and I are going to now co-chair the REMAC. We're going to do this on a trial basis for 6 months and see how it goes. I've talked to Tom a couple of times over the last 18 months about doing this. I feel like it will make us a stronger, more cohesive region to co-chair this rather than having one chair in the more rural part of the region. And so I think that the communication will be better if all of the communication go between the program agency and the two medical directors that are geographically separated a little bit. The two of us can have a lot more offline discussions than I can have with myself, right? There'll probably be richer discussions with more ideas involved than just mine. There's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes at this chairman position that isn't necessarily heavy lifting, but that isn't probably done very well in a vacuum, which is what I've been doing for the last bunch of years. But there's, it's stuff that also probably doesn't need to come to the full REMAC or the full REMSCO for discussion, right? We're all busy people and you don't need to be involved in all of this stuff. But having a partner in this chair seat, I think will help me do my job a lot better and help the two of us serve all of you a lot better. So we're going to give this a whirl. See how it goes for 6 months. If it's an utter failure, we'll do something else in 6 months. It'll come under review from the REMAC and we'll see how it's going at that point. But there you go. And I don't think there was any other big groups. Am I missing anything, you guys?
The only thing listed on here was the regional study data for vital sign acquisition times. Do you have anything to add about that?
It's really no change. What we're asking everybody to do in their QA/QI groups is to take a look at how long it's taking people to get vital signs once they get on the scene. And really the background to this is like, get your vital signs at the patient's side before you move the patient to the ambulance, right? But let's see if we can figure out whether people are doing that and try and encourage them to do that. Because certainly we give a lot better patient care when we figure out the patient's blood pressure is 60 before we move them. And what happens if we figure that out?
Cool. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks for
Paramedical reports. Anyone from LifeNet on?
Happy EMS week. It's Colleen.
Colleen?
Hi. I gave the data for Q1 and for Q2.
Okay.
I threw it in the folder this morning, so that might be new if anybody looked over the
Okay.
weekend.
And the only other thing is all our aircraft are equipped with auto pulse. 2 aircraft, Watertown and Ticonderoga, they have neonatal CPAP. And we are going to be getting a newer Platis or PC-12 at the Potsdam base. They recognize that we are doing an awful lot of flying, and a newer aircraft would help with out of service time for maintenance. So we should be getting a new aircraft in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks. Other than that, that's all that's going on.
Perfect. Thanks, Colleen. Anyone from UVM online? Okay. Moving on. County coordinator reports. Storm, how's Clinton County?
Doing fine. We are having a airport drill on Saturday. Anybody wants to come play, feel free. We're doing it at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. No, I'm sorry, that's the 31st. It's the 31st, after Memorial. We will be playing until noon, and then it's only 4 hours. And it will be a just a general. But the hospital's going to take 20 red patients, I think. 20 red patients. Okay, this will be interesting. I'm not working on Saturday. So I'm pretty good. I'll go to the grill.
All right, thank you, Storm. Michael, are you online for Essex County?
Earlier said couldn't make it.
Okay. Scott, how's Franklin?
We're struggling a little bit with ALS staffing. We're training a lot of EMTs. It's nothing new to report beyond.
Okay. Pat, how's Warren County?
Pretty good. A couple decent sized events coming up. Americade is coming up next week after Memorial Day. So, there'll be some increase there. Some of those, the motorcycle tours ends up in a lot of time Washington County, Essex County. So there's always potential for that. And then in June is the Hudson Valley Firemen's Convention. That'll be in Lake George. They get quite a following for that. I saw the lineup today, and there's a lot of departments there. But Travis has reached out to some of the surrounding agencies. We got that pretty well covered. But other than that, see what happens.
Awesome. Washington County, Paul.
Just a lot of work on the countywide EMS system that we proposed today. It's been going on. Hopefully soon after July 1st, it'll be up in operation. So.
Sweet. All right, Nexus committee reports. Patty did send me a little bit of stuff that she wanted me to report on. So in regards to the storage unit, that's been emptied as much as it's been going to be, thanks to Paul. She wanted me to thank you for that. Couple things in regards to money that she wanted to mention. New York State Department of Taxation, it appears we owe $4,097.32. The IRS for 2015 non-filing $5,860.91. And then the Department of Labor for a lack of a NYS 45. I'm not sure what that is, but at least $222. Patty also indicated that she's in the process of resetting committees. She's going to talk to the chairs of committees to meet with the members to keep the committees active. Said that it will not be crazy busy, but wants to improve on activities and goals. Craig's emailed Patty multiple years of bank statements, so she's going through that. Jonathan's going to arrange a meeting with the state to get some guidance to what needs to happen to move forward. The information from that meeting will be relayed to the council. And that's it from Patty. Do we have a systems or CON committee? I don't even know who's on the committees, to be honest with you.
I don't think we have anything new. We have the Washington County Municipal CON that will need to come to us for 2 years, but we approved that for their ALS status, which we did the ALS is only for a 1-year provisional, so that will at least come back for us to review the ALS wise in a year anyway. Otherwise, I don't think we have. Fort Ann might be considering doing a expansion at some point. So that might be something we would have to do a special meeting for if they decide to actually go through with that. They want to expand to include Glen Falls Hospital to be able to do transports out of there. Otherwise, I don't think there's anything. Jonathan, have you heard of anything? I think that's pretty much it.
Nope, just the Fort Ann expansion is a possibility, but I haven't heard anything more than other than that.
Okay, finance, Storm.
Okay. We hear your purpose reports. So we are in, so the REMSCO budget is the smallest, obviously. We're around 250, it's low, we can go as low as 250, and the only thing that routinely comes out of that at this point is the PayPal effect. So we should be good with that for now. The education stuff, most of that is educator money. As soon as I get everybody's new I-9, and I talk to QuickBooks tomorrow, we should be able to clean up that amount of money. It will not take all of it. There should be about $2,500 left in that account when we get done paying off all of the instructors. The AHA account, or what was the old conference account, we are at 3,000. So the American Heart Association one is where our money comes from to pay stuff. And at this point, it is about a little over $3,500. And in the CON account, the $5,000 that is outstanding in that account is the money from Dana Mora. They have another, I think, another year, and then they have to do their municipal CON. We elected not to send the money back to them because we were going to have to use it for their CON hearing when that becomes doable, right? And then that will leave us, once we clean that up, we'll have to put some money into that account if we're going to keep it active, because we'll have to keep $250,000, or sorry, $250 in it in order to keep the account active. And then that should be good, but we should have money by then. We have a significant or fairly significant amount of CPR cards on hand to be able to issue to people. I just got done issuing a bunch of ACLS, BLS, and also instructor cards. If there's anybody out there who still has not contacted me, I have nobody on my primary list. Remember that I can't issue instructor cards to you if you are a Heart Association instructor, if you're not listed on the primary list. So I can't issue you just an instructor card off and off. There has to be an audit form filled out and the information. So if there are people out there who've not gotten their cards for some reason, they need to get in touch with me so we can get that filled out and we can get it done. And we have cards to be able to do that easily. We have like accounts receivable. At this point, what I have currently documented is about 1660. There is more money that I haven't invoiced for in the last week where I've done a bunch of cards. So I will be doing probably at least another $500 worth of cards in the next week, right? And finishing those up. And I've got a bunch of invoices to send out for those. Currently, the instructor debt is there. The CVent is there. And those are, so if you just move those lines down a little, obviously, I checked that. I was a little offhand today. And then we have the IRS and the forms for the labor department are going in tomorrow. So I will finish up all of those. There's only 2. And then the bills that we paid for the last 2 months, because we just had a meeting in February, are all there. So the AHA is the bulk of that money. And then a little bit of PayPal. The storage unit is still being paid. We are going to clean that out this month. It will be closed. And so that will no longer be an expense to us. It is not an expense to you as an agency because it's been on my charge card. And so far, it's going to stay. So that's why I'm anxious to get that one closed up. So I sent out to most of you pictures of what was there. If there's anything that you are interested in, please talk to Paul about it so that we can clean that out, because whatever is left in there on Friday, my intention is to go down and get rid of it, right? So that I don't have to pay a lot of it. Been there long enough. Questions?
All right, thanks, Storm. Clients and audit.
I don't know.
Okay, awards.
So I just got the spreadsheet from DOH with their submissions this weekend, so I'll send that out to the committee. But we'll have to make our selection the next couple weeks here, so we have to get to DOH by June 1st, so that'll be fast moving for that committee, but otherwise, we received, I think in total, it was like 5 nominations. I'm not sure for the different categories or what, but there should be 5 applications that we'll have to review.
Nominating committee, did we get any report on that at all? Okay. So part of what we're supposed to be doing at this meeting is the annual elections for chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. Do we want to do this like we did last time from the floor? Or do you want to-
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we do that, is there a reason, I mean, we don't even know who's on committees, you know, to my knowledge, unless I'm wrong, there was no correspondence sent out from the last meeting prior to this meeting, either requesting the formation of a nominating committee or scheduling a meeting of the nominating committee. And especially when we only have 10 people present here, you know, a quorum, which represents, you know, 25% of the total membership. Or, yeah, so I guess my question is, with all of the stuff that would, you know, that the council has got going on between, you know, whether we even continue to be a council, all the way to the financial issues and such, shouldn't we be spending a little bit of time, you know, from that perspective, actually sitting down, creating a nominating committee and sitting down and selecting what we want for a path going forward? You know, and I gotta be honest with you. I mean, not that it's a big deal, but I imagine that there's at least 4 or 5 people in this room that don't know me. I don't know them. I don't know their credentials. I don't know their background, and I'm not comfortable voting for them. You know, in this regard, where a nominating committee with representatives from each one of the counties, or however you want to formulate it, has the opportunity to specifically do that. It's the purpose of the nominating committee of this council. So, you know, my recommendation, and I know it's hard to get everybody in one place at one time, I get it, is that we table the election for 30 days for the purpose of the nominating committee to be formed, create a slate, and then we schedule a special meeting for the purposes of conducting annual elections and any other business that comes before the group, with an in-person option only to confirm a quorum. We do it before the 1st of July, so that way we're getting into the July, August months.
Okay, any further discussion from anybody on that? Anyone want to make a motion that we do that? Okay, Mark with the motion, Paul with the second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried, tabled for 30 days, you said? That was your?
Yeah, I mean, I would say as long as we have the meeting before before July 4th, because then it's, you know, you're certainly not going to get anybody to attend that. But I think we just need to, you know, who is on the nominating. If we don't have a nominating committee, then, you know, either yourself or if Patty has time, put out, you know, hey, listen, we need to form this committee.
Committees at all.
I think there is a committee, I just don't know if they did.
There is a committee. There is a committee.
Yeah, so let's get
I
it.
don't know. I don't remember who's on it. I'd have to look at my list.
We always seem to forget who's on the committee.
Yeah, every meeting it's different.
Zach, if we have that committee list, can we put that in every month, put it as in the monthly folder?
That's a good idea.
I had asked that, this is Tammy, I had asked we do that and have each committee report out at each quarterly meeting. A year and a half ago. I think that that's important in order for, you know, the board to operate, you know, as it should. The committees need to be meeting regularly and reporting out at these meetings. And we can't get business done if we don't even know what committees we're on.
I agree. Is there a current list, Zach, that we know of?
Yes, it hasn't been updated since the last year.
Okay.
But I will send it out.
Patty updated it when she took over.
I haven't.
Okay, I'll look it up. See what it was.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion? Before you leave today, just throw it on the next agenda, each committee, the name of each committee. Put it on the next agenda and then it gets carried forward and it's a memory prompt so that none of us forget that every committee needs to report out. It's already on the agenda. It gets everybody thinking about it. We don't miss it. We can go through the agenda.
Yes, I'll add the committee chairs too, next to the committee names, so that we.
Perfect.
Any other suggestions or discussions on that? All right.
The other thing that might help is reaching out to each one of those committee chairs before the meeting and just plopping the topic of discussion into the agenda. That also keeps everybody thinking, makes everybody remember to consolidate before the meeting.
Yep.
Right? Just having a little reach out reminder is sometimes really helpful because we're all busy, right? We're all doing 50 days.
Yeah. Personnel committee report. Appears that there's a bunch of openings. So Clinton County, I have here that Jeff's second term is up. We need a replacement. And we also received a resignation from Jamie today. Brandon is here, right there. He has submitted everything that has been required. Did you send that out by chance or?
No, I just got it all this morning.
And is interested in filling one of these terms for Clinton. Have any comments, Storm, at all?
So we haven't chosen a second person yet for Jim to fill Jamie's spot. So Brandon's going to take, our goal is for Brandon to take Jeffries. And then we're going to work on the other one. I get back home.
Okay. Need a motion and everything, right? I haven't done one of these yet.
Yeah, but why don't we hold off and I'll send it out
Okay.
and we can do elections and we'll vote the new member at the
Same
same
time.
time. Because I believe in the bylaws, it has to get sent out 10 days in advance.
Let me just write that down.
Gonna want those members to the election to meet quorum, so.
Right. All right, Franklin County has one vacancy. Anybody, Scott?
Yeah, I have a nomination for Southern Franklin County.
Okay. Warren County, Ashley,
Who is
and
it, Scott?
end of your first term. Want to keep going?
Julie Hardjack?
Yeah.
I sent Zach.
Okay. And Vicky, same thing. Cool. All right. There's that.
We should do a motion just for them to understand.
So a motion to accept Ashley and Vicky to continue for a second term.
I'll motion.
Adrian with a motion. Need a second?
I'll second.
Pat with a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Washington County, we had one, right? Or did I write that wrong? Down wrong. Eric?
Eric is resigning from Warren County.
Warren. Okay.
So Pat, you'll have a. Okay. We need a resume, a letter of recommendation from someone on the board, so usually yourself, and then a third or a second recommendation from somebody. It doesn't have to be a board member.
Okay.
Then same thing, Scott, for your.
Yeah.
Education Committee, anything for AHA?
HA for HA?
Okay.
No, I think that is the part of this that's working.
Okay. Course,
Paying us money,
yeah.
nothing else.
Course sponsor reports, Clinton County.
So we are doing a summer EMT course from June 8th until I think they get finished the first part of August, like the first or second, I'm not sure which day it is. And then we are moving our EMT program during August to the hospital. We are going to the medical office building and we are going to share space with the nursing program. Which is kind of interesting. They have half of the space, we have the other half of the space. We have so all their exam rooms will become our little lab rooms, and we're going to set them up as independent lab rooms, which will be interesting because we have about 5 of them. So it will be very workable. The biggest problem is we don't have good lecture space, but we can use the rest of SUNY College we can ask for lecture hall space to do our lectures if we need to. So we have an advantage in that the college is right around the corner from the hospital. So this will be, at least for me, it's very workable because it's very close. Which is always convenient. And then in the fall, we will open that program with a basic EMT original and refresher and an AMT course.
ECH, Josh.
Yes, hello. So the paramedic program at ECH will continue. Currently, we have a cohort of 28 in total. And we are now planning to be a January start program every year. So we'll be releasing our application for the program end of August and starting to do interviews September through December.
Perfect. Thanks, Josh. North Country, Scott.
We have a pretty healthy summer course running with 36 students. We'll start again in the fall with 3 or 4 EMTs and then AEMT in the spring. Band's been pretty healthy. We ran about 200 students through courses last year, some refresher, but mostly original. So that was definitely up from prior year. So we were a bit surprised by the numbers.
Cool. Queensbury, Ashley.
Paul just did a great job of graduating with 16 people. 16 new students. We've got with our refreshers, I think 25 in ours, working on a location for a fall course and then another one again this spring.
All right, so the fact finding exploratory committee, I'm the chair of that. We have not met since the last meeting. Patty is reaching out to the state. As I said previously, we're going to meet with Director Greenberg to try to figure out some next steps as well. And that's all I have for a report for that. Any old business that we know of? Anyone have any old business? New business. We have listed here the conflict of interest and whistleblower forms. I believe everyone here has those or has done those, right? If you haven't, turn those in.
I'll send it out electronically too.
Zach will send that out electronically to those that are not here. Any other new business? Anybody?
I have a question. What's the status of our state REMSCO seat since it's been vacant for quite a while?
I will have to ask Patty that. I don't know the answer.
I can answer.
Go ahead.
So we need to resubmit. So whomever this body wants to be their SEMSCO reps, we need to submit them to the state. I don't know if they, I don't want to say this the wrong way with 2 state reps on the call, but I don't know if they got lost in all the paperwork or what. But I think we just need to resubmit and stay on them to get them through because the vetting process takes forever.
Yeah, I thought that the last time we submitted it was supposed to be myself and Storm. And everything had been submitted. And that was maybe 2 years ago, year and a half ago. Storm, do you remember when that was?
I stole my stuff from that, so I could look at the dates on it, but that was back when Anne was running it, so she was supposed to have submitted it. I'm not sure whatever happened, but apparently it never either didn't get there or they lost the paperwork.
I can assure you it did get there. I have access to all of Anne's old stuff and it got there.
So then we just need to reach out to them and say, where are we in the process?
They are saying that they do not have it.
Okay.
So I've been going religiously to the meetings pretty much. I think I missed one. I didn't miss this last one. I missed the one before that. So I've been going routinely to the meetings. The problem is that I'm going to sit on the education committee now. But the real problem becomes is that we don't have a voice at the table, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's difficult for me to take time off from work for a committee that I'm not actually on. I'm happy to go, but again, it's a little more difficult for me to, say I'm gonna travel to Albany and spend the day in Albany, at a committee meeting that, or 2 days in Albany. Where we don't even know where the process is.
If there is an opening and nobody's interested, I go anyway. I'm physically the closest to almost all the meetings, and I go both days, pretty much as well. And I have been vetted because I'm on a couple of, not the SEMSCO committees, but a couple of between the Rural Task Force and the 3018 group. So I don't know if that would, make things go a little fast. I'm happy to do it, but I obviously don't want to step on you guys' if you're happy with doing it and want to continue doing it, but I'm more than willing to do it if, the opportunity or the need is there.
Tammy, would you like to cede to Mark?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. We just need to have a voice at the table, like Storm said. And, I do go to Albany every week. And I could time it so that, when I'm at Albany Med doing my regular job, it's part of my travel there, but, it is a little more difficult when, so sure.
So with that being said, Jonathan, what is the process for having someone new?
I will have to look into it because I haven't had to do it yet. But if it's going to be Storm or Tammy or Storm and Mark, I know we submit both of their names with their references and their resumes.
So you have to send a resume, Jonathan, and a recommendation from the committee.
Yeah.
I believe.
And
John,
then
do you
they
still
pick
have
who
that?
they pick.
And I think there's a
You
letter
still-
of intent. I'm pretty sure I still have mine too. But I think it's a letter of intent. It's a CV and a recommendation from your region.
Hey, John,
Yes.
so you said you have all that material and then it was sent and you still have those emails from Ann. Can you
Yeah.
just forward those to me? And I'll call Ryan in the morning. We'll have a talk. Oh.
Okay.
Okay, that'd be great. Meantime, we can figure out whether Mark is gonna be Tammy or Tammy's gonna be Mark or something, whatever, we can do that, but tomorrow I will call Ryan if you will send me that stuff.
Yep.
Because that's enough of that. And they're notorious for this. It took me 2 years to get vetted because they lost all my stuff. And once we kind of had conversations and all of a sudden I was vetted immediately. So it sounds
we
like
had the same challenge with Dr. Coates for the North Country side. And I think
Yep.
he was 3.5 years to
Yeah.
get vetted.
it's absolutely ridiculous. And then we have problems with quorum and we're like, why? Really? So anyway, okay. So we'll do that. You guys figure out musical chairs.
Any other new business? Jonathan, anybody online have anything else for new business?
Oh, Dakota, I have one thing. I talked to Jonathan about this. We actually talked about it a little bit within our county as a possible way to, kind of deal with a little bit of the paramedic shortage and maybe expand the scope a little bit of the AEMT level. Most of our surrounding states, the AEMT scope of practice includes both IV acetaminophen and Zofran, either IV or PO or IM, any way it can be done. And for whatever reason, and it's not in New York. So certainly, I think we could all go in and bombard the system with protocol enhancement updates to allow those two things. Or is the easier approach and the quicker approach to put together a demonstration project that would start in our region, then, the iGel, the glucagon, the whatever projects that are out there, and then start collecting data. At the end of the day, the pharmacology is the pharmacology. AEMTs are already doing PO. The issue with the Zofran, I don't know what your feelings are, Dr. Bombard, but, I know the QT issue, we could certainly always require them to do a 12 lead, especially in a demonstration project, and check the QTC before they administer it.
But they're not trained.
To do
They're
a
trained
12
to
lead.
do an EKG, but they're not trained to read it,
But you're not interpreting the EKG. All you're looking at is the QTC number.
which means I
Which-
have to teach them the PQRST. all
But it's
trained.
just the printout of the QTC, or
They don't know
or
what
the
it's-
reality of it is, let's face it, you go into 95% of the prescribing physicians are giving somebody a Destron or not doing an EKG to determine if they have prolonged QT syndrome to start with. So, or you could look at some of these other,
Well, and
again.
that's what I said. If there's we don't do it for every
right.
single IV.
So,
we get
right,
it.
that would be to me, that would be the only issue. But if if we look at, probably anecdotally, but if we look at the real data and how many ALS paramedic responses are for pain management and for antiemetics. I don't know if anybody else has been using IV Tylenol. We've been using it a lot. We have cut our narcotic use probably in half with it. Not only half the dose, but half the time we're not giving the narcotics because the Tylenol is working. Works very well. And certainly, we get called, especially with longer transport times. Nobody wants to get puked on. They don't want the patient to suffer. So, how many paramedic intercepts or requests, how often can we keep that medic in service? And then again, I think we've gotten especially with like the IM glucagon thing coming, our scope of practice between our basics and our AEMTs is like this. And from our AEMTs to our paramedics, it's like this. Nobody wants to bring back, the state doesn't want to bring back critical care techs, so we're not trying to make the next round of critical care techs. But by the same token, this is scope of practice and the majority of the states that border New York already. So why not? So, again, is it quicker to do it as a demonstration project, type it up, do it or is it quicker to look to see if we can get it on the books for, for next July's updates, whatever way would
I
work.
think it would be cool to get it on the books if you could for next July's update. It seems to me that the demonstration projects are taking, the glucagon one, they moved from a demonstration project to really moving right into it because there was no harm in giving it to a child or an adult.
Right.
Is that my belief that they decided that it could just go, and I think they removed it? Like the demonstration project will go on for now until we get it on board, but I think that it's gonna go right into it from what I heard at state council, right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
my
it's right,
impression
protocol.
from it. And this takes me back to how long it took us to do the gel project. It's been like 3 or 4 years now that we've been working on that. So I don't necessarily want to get into a demonstration project if the docs are okay with going, particularly with IV Tylenol for the intermediate, for the A&G.
Yeah.
And certainly, I'd like to see them at least give PO Zofran to them as an option, even if they don't want to give them IV. They could certainly give the PO Zofran.
Right.
Right, because it's slower absorbed. So
That's Bombard for a physician opinion, what would you say for this?
So here's let me give you my personal algorithm for giving Zofran. Okay, so patient is vomiting or nauseated. Okay, check. Fine. Are they on an atypical antipsychotic? Are they on any other antipsychotic? Have they had diarrhea for a day or 2 or 3? Right? Which will drop your magnesium through the bucket and will widen your QT interval. Right? Anybody that's on an antipsychotic will have a wide QT to start with. Anybody who has low magnesium will have a wide QT to start with. Right? So that's diarrhea, that's alcoholics, right? And then there's people with familial wide QT syndromes. So once I've screened for those, which means I've talked to the patient, right? Then I think about giving Zofran or not. And if I find that the patient is at any risk for any of those things, then I get a 12 lead before I give the Zofran. So if you think your AEMTs are capable of doing that and can get them to do that on a regular basis, and you can add that to their core education, then I'm all for them giving Zofran. Because if that's what I'm doing, that's what you should be doing. Because you have less resources to recover from a bad decision than I do. I have all sorts of resources to recover from a bad decision. You do not. So you should be more careful than me, not less careful than me.
So you're saying it comes down to a good patient assessment, essentially,
Just like everything,
everything else.
right? I'm pretty confident that the paramedics work for me are doing a careful patient assessment before they give Zofran. I don't know about anybody else.
I think just like anything, there'll be another education component to this. Yeah.
Which means that if you're teaching the AEMT class, you then have to add that to your curriculum. Which is gonna cost you some time. So I think the real people that you want to talk to before you move that sort of thing forward are the people that are teaching AEMT classes. Because that's who's going to have to lift this burden, right, at the end of the day. The rest of the AEMTs, we're gonna have to module out. But, you know, if you're teaching an AEMT class on a regular basis, how much more is that to add to your curriculum? And that's, you know, that's one of the reasons that we don't expand the AEMT exponentially, right? Because lots of this stuff is really easy peasy. It's, you know, we add on an hour education module or a half an hour education module. It's easy, quick, whatever. But when you're actually, you know, the person supporting an you know, initial AEMT class, and we add 6 things to your AEMT curriculum, now you have to make your class longer or you have to do something, right? And I don't teach an AEMT class, so I'm not the person. Acetaminophen, not so bad, right? If they have liver problems, don't give it. If they do have liver problems and you give it, I'm going to find out where you live, right? Like, don't do that. Don't make these patients worse. It's not helpful.
Right.
But that's a pretty easy discussion, right? We're giving it PO acetaminophen, blah, 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 blah. One dose is probably not going to kill them, but it's not great. But Zofran is another deal. If you put them into VTAC and your AMT, you're going to have a problem and it's going to be your fault.
Any other discussion on this topic?
Can I just put in a quick little 2 cents too? I know part of the conversation is revolving around AEMTs interpreting cardiac rhythms and whatnot, and that is not in their scope of practice. But for agencies that are online with Pulsera, they can just with a click of a button take a picture of that 12 lead and send it to an ER physician who can then interpret the rhythm for them and tell them if that is something they can do. Just my 2 cents. I do agree with a lot of Dr. Bombard's other concerns. So
Any other discussion? Any other new business? All right. Any public comment? Motion to adjourn. Scott with the motion. Storm with the second. All in favor? Motion carried. We're adjourned.
thanks, everybody. Have a good night. I will hopefully see you in person in August when I have a contract and can afford to drive over.